Sports with Sean Caravilles.
World champion Peter Sagan has won stage 3 of the Tour de France, while Team Sky's Geraint Thomas still holds the yellow jersey. Here's BBC 5 Live.
The Tour de France.
Welcome to Bespoke at Le Tour de France. I'm OJ Borge. Our location this evening is outside a fabulous bar, the Merciel Pascal, which offers apparently Resto Rapide. It's in Vittel. The reason that we've chosen this is A, the fabulous water spring round the corner. You could fill up your bead on there. And also that this is on the route of tomorrow's stage 3. We're about a kilometre away from the finish. A fabulous place, I thought, to stop today. Alongside me is Simon Brotherton and Rob Hales, fresh from a 3-hour commentary and then an almost 3-hour drive.
Fresh, yeah. That's maybe not quite the word, but it was a good day.
It was. Sometimes, though, when you tell people you're covering the Tour de France, they say, oh, going on holiday to France, are you?
Yeah, have you had a nice trip?
Have a nice trip.
It's work with a passport.
Indeed. We'll talk to them and get their thoughts on what has been a great day, a really exciting day with an exciting finish. But first, though, let us hear those final few moments of today's stage.
Geraint Thomas is hanging in there very well in around 5th or 6th place at the moment. The sprint is really on here. I think there are about 250 metres to go. Sagan still looks good. Dan Martin, the Irishman, tries to make his move too. And Peter Sagan launches the sprint up towards the line. Sagan, the world champion, leads the way. Greg van Avermaet's right on his wheel. Dan Martin's coming on strong at the end here as well. And also Michael Matthews, the Australian. What a sprint as Matthews got the legs to do it. Peter Sagan's hanging on. Oh, it's going to be a photo finish here over the line. Sagan thinks he's got it. He raises his arm in the air. What a finish it was. Sagan, Michael Matthews and Dan Martin, the Irishman, head to head at the end of that stage. Oh, what a lung-bursting finish that was.
What a final moment that was, and what a kicker as well. And Peter Sagan, he was masterful, taking his 8th Tour de France stage win, Rob.
It was quite incredible, bearing in mind that with around 300 metres to go, his foot came out of the pedal. Uphill as well, and he had a great teammate with Rafał Majka, who probably could have gone for the stage himself had he not had the world champion Peter Sagan in his wheel. But yeah, quite an incredible finish, made it look easy, crossed the line, was waving to the crowd, showboating, not really showboating, but just his usual, well, here I am.
Do you think, Rob, that he'd be the only rider in the peloton that could have had that happen to him and to have recovered, had the presence of mind and the skill to deal with it, and the power to then keep going and to get across the line in first place?
That's the thing, the form he's got, the speed he's got. He's an ex-mountain biker, so he had the skill to do that. He was riding a pedal system that is only one-sided. There are a few systems out there or one system at least on the road, that is double-sided, so you just put your foot back on and it clips in. He had to kind of look down. He did it so quick at the time, I thought it was his gears jumping, and it wasn't until afterwards we saw it in slow motion that no, it was his foot actually detached from the pedal, uphill to the finish. Incredible.
It is incredible. I sometimes struggle to get my foot in the cleat at the lights, let alone going uphill. We actually had a tweet in. You can always get in contact with us at 5LiveSport, hashtag BBC Cycling, at Cycling and Stuff. Actually asked the question, can you quantify how much extra power he needed at that point to clip back in?
I don't know, but he had...
Yeah, that was my answer. I went for lots as well. If we're talking about tweets, Smallman Peaky says, Sagan, he's just a freak, isn't he?
Well, he's so strong, isn't he? Pound for pound, as an all-rounder, he's got to be the best of the lot, hasn't he, really?
That's why he gets paid the big bucks.
He is an extraordinary athlete, and his brother's not too bad either. His brother put a lot of work in on the front of the peloton when they were just keeping the breakaway nice and handily within reach. Juraj Sagan, who's the national road race champion of Slovakia, finished just ahead of his brother last week for the second year running.
Do you reckon that was a gimme for him?
Well, no gifts, but...
Well, he paid him back today, that's for sure.
He did indeed. Well, let's hear from the man who took the stage today. Peter Sagan was talking to Gemma Sturber.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy for this victory because it's very important for our team. Thanks all the team and teammates, Borans Grohe, because they did amazing job today. It was they were all day in the front pulling. Yeah, especially my brother Juraj. He did very great job, and in the end I'm very happy for this victory because I had a little bit lag in the bad time, the last 300 meters when I just click off my shoes from the pedal. In the end, was a happy end for us, Boransgrohe, and that is very good. Also for the next days is to keep calm and stay relaxed.
Now it's time to keep the green shot.
We'll see. I am also very happy with these stripes. It's okay. We'll see. Day by day.
I'm happy with the stripes. I'm happy wearing the world champion stripes on him. He wants to keep those on. I mean, he's won 8 stages of the Tour de France now. 8 stages. You could see him almost doubling that by the time they get to Paris, couldn't you?
Well, I don't know about that, but I think that I could see him, provided he stays upright and he doesn't fall ill, I think he's a shoo-in to win the green jersey for a record-equalling 6th time in a row. And I think, he's great for the sport. He has the element of the showman about him, doesn't he? And every sport needs characters like that. I love the way that after such a difficult finish to the stage, because let's face it, the whole day boiled down to that final kilometre and a half, and perhaps maybe the 5 kilometres leading into it when there was this big battle on the road to get the best spot. And when you saw how tough that climb was and how hard everybody was racing, and the issue that we've spoken about already that he had technically, to have hit the front when he did, to have timed it so well, to have had the strength to do that, and then to have given everyone a nice wave as he crossed the line, and to make it look as if he just popped out to buy a newspaper was very, very impressive.
He made it look easy. It wasn't easy.
It was anything but easy. Yeah.
The way we were talking up, there was it was literally in the last 5 minutes of commentary where the action happened. But that's not to say that everyone just rode the first 210 kilometres steady away and then just waited for the climb. It was a difficult day. Several riders, including Mark Cavendish, have tweeted that was a very difficult day, a hard day, like it's on the treadmill, just before they have to get to that final climb and then do that in the way that he did, in the company that he was with as well, because it's not just about Sagan. Dan Martin very close, Matthews very close. I mean, all those guys were ones that we'd selected who could potentially win it, but the cream rose to the top today.
And Martin wasn't unhappy at the end. He's tweeted saying, and to think when I got up this morning, I thought the highlight for me today would be when we rode around the motor racing circuit at Spa-Francorchamps. So he came third. It was a really, really strong effort from him. But there was a great tweet from Mark Cavendish tonight as well. I don't know whether you've seen that. Basically saying that it was a rough old day, and it felt like 212 kilometres on the home trainer, where basically you just had to keep pushing all the time.
It was hard listening to your commentary. Richie Porte, heading up that climb, he had a little dig, didn't he?
He was having a little dig, and Alberto Contador was as well, dancing on the pedals in that familiar style of his. And for a moment or two, you just wondered whether they might steal a march and perhaps gain, I don't know, half a dozen seconds back on Chris Froome, something like that, because with around 700 or 800 metres to go, I don't know about you, Rob, but I couldn't see Froome at that point. You could see Geraint Thomas,
wasn't there, yeah.
Much easier to spot in the yellow jersey, but he was always there or thereabouts. But I think, again, Froome timed his effort very, very well. He finished just one place behind Geraint Thomas, and of course he was ahead of all of his rivals, Porte and Contador included.
Yeah, I mean, Richie Porte, I think, was probably trying to just gain a second or two on the likes of Froome, just to try and claw a few back. But also, I think he was also looking after Greg Van Avermaet, who just missed a podium in 4th. His teammate, who again was another name, another huge bike rider. Of stature and size as well.
And Contador had a teammate as well, didn't he? Fabio Fellini, who was hoping to get to the front today.
So they were all there, with their role within a role. A, to look after themselves for GC, but B, having a rider for a potential stage win.
Now, the man who came third, you mentioned him earlier on, Dan Martin, who was up there at the end. And I think when we were talking about it earlier on today, you said it could be a stage that he could win. He is that sort of puncher rider. He tweeted before this Tour de France started saying that last year he rode like an idiot. What did he do so wrong last year that he wants to put right this year?
He was basically attacking last year in places where it wasn't ideal. Basically, you've got so much ammunition, and he basically used it all a little bit too much on some of the climbs. He got excited, got a little bit over enthusiastic, and when you're in the kind of company that you have at the Tour de France, when everybody is at or near their best, you can't really afford to make mistakes, and he just made a few mistakes, went into the red and didn't recover from that. So I think his performance last year wasn't quite up to the standard that he could have done. So this year, today I should say, he waited and waited. He had teammates with him, and he rode exceptionally well, and I think he has to be happy with what he did. It wasn't like he mistimed it, he didn't go too early and then die, he didn't come from too far back and just run out of road. He was there, and along the size of Michael Matthews and Sagan, I think he should be.
Matthews looked so disappointed, didn't he, when he crossed the line? I thought maybe with about 150 to go, 100 to go, maybe Matthews was coming on strong, and perhaps Sagan had gone a little bit early, hitting the front maybe too early, but he's so strong, and Matthews just couldn't quite get past him. And I think maybe he tied up more than Sagan actually when they got to the end. But the way he hung his head as he crossed the line, he knew he hadn't quite got it right. Would have been great for Australian cycling had he won today. Obviously for him, adding to the Tour stage that he got last year. But also the last time the Tour went to Longwy was back in 1982, and Phil Anderson, the famous Australian rider, had the yellow jersey that night. So I think it would have been a special day for Australia had he won.
And it was very, very close on the line. I caught a bit of the final moments, and I actually thought Sagan had been beaten, even with the nonchalant wave. I thought maybe he's just showing off. I thought Matthews had taken it, and as a rider, he has been there or thereabouts for the past couple of years. I know he's won stages of the Giro. What does he need to do, maybe, just to step up to start taking these stages at the Tour?
Keep doing what he's doing.
I hope Sagan's not there.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. When he'll probably look back in his career and think, oh my word, the amount of time Sagan's been. But when you look at Sagan, the amount of wins that he's had at the Tour, he's had probably 3 times as many second places and third places. He's done a lot of that. He was kind of always getting second. Greg Van Avermaet as well. So he just has to keep doing what he's doing. The team are good around him, and timing. Had he timed it slightly differently today, had Rafał Majka not been there for Sagan today, it could have been switched the other way around quite easily.
But he's been there before as well, just quickly, in Richmond in 2015, the World Championship, but when Sagan won the world title for the first time, it was Matthews who he pipped, and Matthews had to settle for the silver medal that day too.
So he does just need Sagan not to be there.
Yeah.
He could be winning all sorts of things, could be world champion. Now, of course, Geraint Thomas was riding round today at stage 2 in the yellow jersey, and he's still in the yellow.
And deservedly so. I thought he looked really good today. As we've mentioned, in terms of the GC, it was a quiet day. It was really all about that final 5 minutes or so. In all probability, we were thinking that Geraint Thomas would retain the race leader's yellow jersey. It's not a surprise that he's still in yellow tonight. But when push came to shove, he got himself in the right place. He timed his effort well. He rode strongly. He was, he was just behind Sagan and the riders who were in front of him. Wasn't a big gap. Only lost a couple of seconds on the winner. That was irrelevant given the riders who were in front of him. Really strong. Chris Froome right on his wheel. So he's still the yellow jersey, and of course now his overall lead has extended to 12 seconds. But interestingly, it is the defending champion Chris Froome who is now in second place.
A British and a Team Sky 1 and 2. Well, we're talking about him, so let's hear from Geraint Thomas, the current leader of the Tour de France. Chatted to Gemma Sturber.
Geraint, your second day in yellow. How was that?
Really good. I can certainly get used to it. But yeah, it's certainly a great boost to morale, and really happy to keep it for another day.
What's the plan at the end? Obviously you were right up there. Was the plan ever to push for the win, or were you always about consolidating, looking after yourself, looking after Chris?
Yeah, if the opportunity was there, for sure would have had a go, but we were a little bit far back as we entered the climb, so had to make a bit of a move up to get near the front, and then it was just more sort of just like stay there out of trouble then. But yeah, the main thing was from 60k to go, just to keep Froome up there out of trouble, and that's what we did, and yeah, like I say, really happy.
Is it hard, even though you're wearing yellow? Obviously you're still working for Chris.
Yeah, but I guess I haven't had to do too much at the moment because the other boys are doing most of the work. My job will come once the road starts going uphill a bit more. But yeah, it's like I say, it's great for the morale to be in the jersey.
Speaking of your teammates, Kirienka went down. Were you aware of that, or were you just so focused on yourself?
Yeah, it's a lot of the times you don't really hear what the director's saying on the radio because, like you say, you're concentrating on what you're doing because it's so chaotic, and yeah, you're just in that zone. But I did hear that he was coming back, and when he was back in the peloton, so that was all good. But sounds bad, but as long as Froome's okay, then the rest of us don't really care.
And I know it's only 48 hours, but what would you say so far the best thing and the worst thing about wearing yellow jersey?
Well, the best thing is just wearing it, the morale you get, riding around and leading the biggest bike race in the world. Negatives, can't really think of anything at the moment.
Speaking to us a lot every day.
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to insult you.
It's fine, we can take it. Thank you. Cheers.
It is fabulous once again to hear from him. I think if you don't follow the Tour de France every year, you don't follow cycling, it might seem strange that the current leader of this sporting event is still working for someone else. He's still working for Chris Froome.
Yeah, it's always going to be that way. I mean, as Geraint said in the interview there, he's not had to do too much, if anything. That time will come, but I think the priority will always be on Chris Froome, because he already has those titles and those wins under his belt. But even if Geraint hadn't got the yellow, he probably wouldn't have ridden any differently and be looked after any differently as it stands at the moment. I mean, fortunately for Team Sky, they haven't actually had to do, or from what we've seen, too much on the front. They've done their bits that they're duty bound to do, but then the sprinters teams have taken over. Tomorrow it will be the sprinters again. 2 days time it might change, or probably will change, and the onus will really be put back onto them.
Push hasn't come to shove yet, OJ, and as Rob was saying, because they're all together near the front, they haven't really had to fall into specific roles too much. And if you've noticed the last couple of days, including today out there, Thomas is riding on the wheel of Froome. Chris Froome is riding in front of him, so he has the yellow jersey on his back, and he's not having to actually work. They are basically shielding him in the yellow jersey, because we haven't really got to the points where that role reversal will occur.
Is that also from Chris Froome? Is that also keeping his key lieutenant sweet? Or is it respecting the jersey?
No, it's totally respecting the jersey, and I think the last thing that Chris Froome wants at the moment is the jersey.
Even though he's just 12 seconds down?
Yeah, because of the amount of extra responsibility you have as a bike rider away from the race, especially in this first week. We haven't really interviewed him much. If we have, it's been the odd word, the odd snap bite, whereas Geraint is having to do all of those as a jersey wearer. You have to go through and you do the mix zone, then obviously in the mornings because he's in the jersey, and it's just all these extra little things that add on to the bike riding itself. Chris Froome will, no doubt, touch wood to him, be having to do that later on in the race. So the more he can keep himself away from that, I mean, it's always nice to have the jersey within the team.
It's more stress though, isn't it? More stress, less recovery time, more time on your feet afterwards, more hanging around.
I'm sure he won't mind though.
No, in his mind, if all goes according to plan, plenty of time for that between now and Paris.
Chris Froome has spent enough days in his career in the jersey to know, if he doesn't have to wear it all the way until 2-3 days to go, he'll still be happy.
How many days is it? I'm sure no one's got this fact on hand, although we'll try and work it out for tomorrow or tweet it out later on. How many days have Team Sky now spent in yellow in the time they've been a team?
Not sure, but it's quite a few.
It's quite a few. It's quite a lot. So if we take a look at the jerseys currently, green is Marcel Kittel. He was glad to pull that on again. White is Pierre Latour for the young rider. Polka dot is Nathan Brown, and in the yellow, of course, is Geraint Thomas. Now, if we're talking about Team Sky, it has been in the papers today. L'Équipe had something about it. It's all to do. Is it a furore? I don't know. The French media, I think, are trying to turn it into, along with a couple of the French teams, this skin suit, the fact they went too fast on stage one, on this first stage.
Rob will no doubt talk about the skin suit itself, or the ideas behind it, and whether there's a bit of an issue there or not. Two things just stand out for me. Firstly, it's my understanding that this skin suit was worn in the Giro this year by Geraint Thomas and maybe some other members of the team. It had been approved. It had gone through all the right processes, and the UCI or whoever had said that it was fine. Nothing was said at the time by any of the other teams. Suddenly we're at the Tour. It's a different issue. And the other thing is, I do feel that the governing body, the UCI, in circumstances like this, they need to step in and they need to make a statement, and they need to say, this is not a story, we are happy with that, this is legal, end of, or, well, we thought it was, but we're going to look at it again, whatever. But just make a statement, because at the moment, when they don't say anything, it just festers and the story grows and grows, when in fact the likelihood is it probably isn't the story. Sky, actually, I think, Rob, I'm right in saying, not the only team to use this sort of technology.
No, and Movistar use a very similar type of skin. So it's basically to do with something that's attached to the material itself. By the rules, the UCI rules of clothing state that they have to be made of a kind of the material, and nothing can be added.
It has to be an integral part of the garment, not something that's added to it. That's a separate thing.
But that's kind of it's almost what they've done, and obviously the UCI have ratified it. It's not been a problem. They've used it before. Movistar have used something very similar. There's several teams have done so, and I think like Geraint Thomas has mentioned to someone, he said, "Here, take one, have a go in it, see how fast you go," basically.
But for people who haven't seen it, what we're talking about, Rob, here, it's on the sleeve, isn't it? It almost just a few dots, isn't it? It looks like little pimples sticking out.
Yeah, I mean they've got dimples. The ones that Movistar use are kind of like little chevrons. It's the orientation of the material. It's basically to try and direct the airflow around the body. Basically, it's to make you faster, and that's what they've done. If you actually go by the rules 100%, then every single aerodynamic helmet is there to change the shape of your body, which you're not supposed to do. So they should all be illegal as well. So Francis Dejeux, who have allegedly come up with this and put a complaint in, they should look in the mirror as well, because they're riding, if you go by the letter of the rules, something illegal. Which it's so ridiculous.
Well, I'm sure
it's the Tour.
It's the Tour. These things happen. I'm sure there'll be more in L'Equipe about it tomorrow morning. Now, one thing we're doing this year at the Tour de France is trying to do an A to Z of the Tour, to try and give you all the things that happen. And today, C is for casquette.
C is for casquette. Luckily, cap also begins with a C, because that's what it is.
Other than a bike, it's one of the most recognisable things on a cyclist.
They started off as a head-borne badge saying, "I ride bikes."
It's only becoming trendy 20 years ago.
Unless you are Madonna, because she wore a Brooklyn cap way back in one of her videos.
From 1955 to just 2013, where it became mandatory to wear a helmet in the peloton,
you would see casquettes perched on the heads of cyclists within the peloton.
There are many ways you can wear a casquette.
Forward, so the peak protects the eyes from the sun and rain.
Peak up for advertising potential.
Backwards, peak down to protect that neck from the sun.
Or backwards, peak up if your name's Rob Hales.
Or on the side, if it's raining and there's a crosswind coming from the right.
C is for casquette.
C is for casquette.
And no one has ever worn a hat sideways to protect their head from rain.
It's true.
No, it's not.
It's true.
No, it's not. No one has ever worn a hat sideways. No. So if you want to see that, you can do. A, B and C are all on the BBC website right now. C for casquette. No one's ever worn a casquette, a cycling cap sideways to protect themselves from wind that's coming in from the left.
I did it.
I'm sure you did.
Hailstones on the top of your ears hurt a lot.
If you want to see those, they're on the BBC Sport website. I was based in
Northern Europe most of my career, in the wet, the rain, the wind, the snow, the hail. I had it hard.
That's why it's called Rob Hales.
Can I just say, I didn't doubt for 1 minute that you'd worn your hat like that.
So then let's talk about tomorrow. It is Mondorf-Laban to Vittel. It finishes just up from where we are sat right now. A soupçon of Luxembourg. I checked the flag because I thought it was Holland for a second. I get very confused by flags. It is another third 200-kilometre plus stage on the bounce. What can we expect tomorrow, Rob?
A sprint, basically. I think we will have the usual breakaway, which up to now they haven't been given much leeway. We haven't seen the 5, 6, 7, 8 minute time gaps. Maybe a little bit early for that, because everyone's obviously still quite closely knit to the yellow jersey. But the break will go, and then it will be brought back, reeled in. The sprinters teams will do predominantly most of the work on the front, and then it will come down to a battle royale with the big Germans, Kittel, Greipel, Cavendish, if he can recover from the previous couple of days. He's looking good after his fourth yesterday. And everyone else, Demar was very close today as well, the Frenchman. So, yeah, a big sprint royale.
And the Tour's making the point about how easily it can move around Europe. They're popping back over to Luxembourg for the start because they can. The Tour going through Schengen tomorrow. We can all be in agreement on that.
Well, it's going to be another exciting stage. You can hear that on 5 Live Sports Extra from 2:30 with Simon Brotherton and Rob Hales. You can also download this as a podcast later on. And if you want to get in touch, please do, whether you are listening to it tonight, whether you're watching it, or you are listening as a podcast. At 5 Live Sport, hashtag BBC Cycling is the way to do it. And you can follow all the action on BBC Sport with a live text. They will get started just after midday. It's a fabulous way to follow it if you're at work and you're doing it in a sly way. Have a great day. We just want to say thank you to Pascal and the Rednecks Cafe for having us. It is a great location. Maybe if you could talk about it if they go past it tomorrow. We'll see if we can get that in. There's a great Vittel and the TDF yellow jersey painted on the wall. And I saw some Velo beer inside, so we'll go and get that. Thank you for joining us.
Sports with Sean Caravilles. Caravilles.